So let's please begin with prayer. So I'm just going to ask everyone just to take some deep breaths and just get ready for this wonderful experience to just kind of really center yourselves and let go of whatever happened today or just right now, even with these technical issues, and just really open your heart and your mind and your core to this marvelous experience that we are about to embark upon. And so we know that we are being guided by Spirit here this evening, that no one is here by accident, if anything, divine accident. We are all here with a divine purpose. And so we are here to hear something or see something or feel something that really moves us and moves us to understand and be one with the Spirit. And on this Jesus journey that we are here on tonight, we collectively open ourselves up to new learnings, new beginnings, and new opportunities. We say amen.
So we'll begin by having each of the presenters briefly introduce themselves and the ministry that they're coming from. I'm Reverend Kurt Condra at Unity on the North Shore, and we're delighted to have 3 different Unity communities represented.
I'm Diana Ezerance, and I'm from Unity Chicago. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm Jeff Berry. I'm also from Unity Chicago, and I'm very pleased to be here with you.
I'm Kucha Brownlee. I'm from Unity Park.
I'm Bruce Moore, and I am from Unity on the North Shore.
Lauro Sansano, Unity in the North Shore.
Janine Baldwin, Unity of Oak Park.
So I just want to share a little bit about what tonight's experience is. There are a lot of different formats for Good Friday services, and we're just really excited to be creating this. It's being created basically inspired by writings that Reverend Richard Billings wrote, the late Reverend Richard Billings. He was noted as kind of the Pope of Unity for many, many years. He was a brilliant metaphysician, and he had written, these are basically kind of scripts that would be spoken by people who would have known Jesus at the time of his life when he was walking on the planet, and specifically at that time in his life and his death. And each of these characters will be kind of reflecting on what his life meant to him, how they encountered him, what they believed about his journey and his experience, and how it affected their lives. So I think it's just a beautiful opportunity for us to really rest in the question about what we believe about life and death and spirituality, and especially in this time, you know, those questions really are how we shape our experience. What we believe really reflects how we live. So in this time in our experience, I think that's just a really powerful question to be addressing. So we'll have the presenters will each embody one of these characters, and we'll have a couple of readers, and then there'll be some music that's performed by a cousin of mine. His name is Sandra, and he is in Minneapolis. He's joining us from Minneapolis. What I love about Pat joining us is that he's kind of a rocker. You know, he does gigs in clubs in Minneapolis. I don't know that he would think of himself as a church musician, but we've recruited him, and he's kind of stepping out and doing some unplugged sessions. And the music that we have selected is meant to kind of evoke the themes that the readings present for us. And so we just invite you in this time to kind of reflect on what each of these characters maybe inspires for you, what the music evokes, and then after that, there will be 6 readings and some music in between each of those, or every other one of those. And then Reverend Christina will lead us in a time of meditation, so we can just come to some greater clarity about this journey that we express through this Holy Week season, this Good Friday season. So with that, I will turn it over to Pat Condra in Minneapolis.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played, it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the battlefield king. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. 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 Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof. Her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to her kitchen chair. She broke your throne. She cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. 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 Baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room. I've walked the floor. I used to live alone before I knew you. I've seen your flag on a marble arch, but love is not a victory march. It's cold and it's broken. Hallelujah. 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 Well, there was a time when you let me know what's really going on before, but now you never show that to me, do you? Remember when I moved you in, the holy dove was moving too, and every breath we do was hallelujah. 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 Well, maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew you. It's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not someone who's seen the light. It's cold and it's broken. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Woman in the crowd. I wish I had known him. In some ways, I feel as though I did. Who am I, you ask? My name would have no meaning to you. I'm simply one of the many who stood at the foot of the cross and watched as this man of whom we speak breathed his last and left this life. You must wonder what kind of person attends such an event. And I must assure you, it has not been my custom to do such a thing. This, in fact, was the first time I had gone to the place of skulls, even though crucifixions are common in this land. And there are those amongst my friends who find the drama and pain somehow entertaining. But this has not been my way. My husband is a man of some station, and I have certain responsibilities as his wife. I live well and want for no material thing. But for a very long time, I've had a hunger in my heart to know a deeper way to live, a deeper way to be. When I overheard others speaking of this teacher, this Jesus, I felt as though a spark had been ignited within me. I yearned to follow the crowds then, the crowds that sat at his feet in the mountains or by the sea. But I was afraid of being seen, afraid of what people might say. So I remained at home. However, when I heard others speaking of the events that have gone on these past few days and of the cruelty that was even then taking place, I found myself running through the streets without thought or care for any consequences. By the time I arrived at the hill, the Romans had already crucified Jesus, and he was nearing death. As I stood looking through a veil of tears, he raised his head and his eyes met mine. In that instant, time stood still for me. And we were alone.
Oh, here's Betsy. Tommy? Tommy?
I knew without a doubt that he was truly aligned with the presence of the divine. I was immersed in a wave of compassion and love, and though he didn't speak, I heard as though we were one, saying, "Do not pity me or think harshly about what you see here. Suffering or not, it's not my teaching. Forgive and release those who, in their ignorance of the law of love, have mistreated me as I forgive them. Remember, with love comes joy. With joy, freedom. Only as you forgive will you be able to truly love life, to have peace in your heart and rejoice in the truth. Love and help wherever you can, for the Christ is in everyone. And remember my words, for you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free."
The woman who touched the hem. I had been to physicians all over the world. Many terrible treatments had I suffered, but the results were always the same. No cure, no hope of cure. I had the blood plague. And then I came to hear Jesus. I saw that none who came for healing were turned away. None were told to continue their suffering, for God willed it to be so. I reasoned that they were more worthy than I, though always I tried to be a good person. Perhaps they had learned their respective lessons. I wanted to go to Jesus too, but I feared that he would only echo the words of the chief priests, so I dared not. Then I suddenly realized that Jesus was so filled with the power of God that if I just touched the hem of his garment, I would be healed. I would steal up behind him and do it secretly, and he would never know. And thus I followed him, and in the press of the crowd, I reached and let the cloth slide through my fingers. At that moment, a rush of joy and well-being warmed my flesh and made my skin tingle. I was healed, and only with great restraint did I keep from shouting triumphantly. Then Jesus cried out, "Who has touched me?" And I backed fearfully into the crowd. The others, his companions, laughed. "Master, 100 times 100 press you. How can you ask thus? But with an upraised hand, Jesus parted the crowd until he came and stood before me. And he said, "Daughter of Judah, it was you. You have touched me." Then did I fall to my knees and let the shame, the fear, the guilt, and the question of God's will pour from my lips. He raised me to my feet and gazed silently into my eyes for a long moment. Unlike the eyes of the chief priests, which were hard and unyielding, Jesus' eyes were filled with compassion, and to my amazement, with tears. And he said, "I am come that you may know that you are whole. I am come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. Rejoice and be of good cheer. Your faith has made you whole. Go and enjoy your good health." From that time forth, as I accepted that I am deserving of an abundant life, I found my faith brought this life forth in each new experience. More than just the healing happened to me that day. That day, I was reborn.
How sweet it is to be loved by you. Yeah, yeah. How sweet it is to be loved by you. I needed the shelter of someone's arms. Oh, but there you were. I needed someone to understand my ups and my downs. Oh, but there you were. With sweet love and devotion, keep me touching my emotions. I want to stop and thank you, baby. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. Oh, oh, how sweet it is to be loved by you. How sweet it is to be loved by you. I close my eyes at night now, wondering where would I be without you in my life. Everything I did was just a bore, and everywhere I went, I see I've been there before. 'Cause you brightened up for me all of my days. Love so sweet in so many ways. I wanna stop and thank you, baby. I just wanna stop and thank you, baby. Oh yeah, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Yeah, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Prove it to me that I was to myself. For me, that's you, and there ain't nobody else. I wanna stop. Thank you, baby. I just wanna stop. Thank you, baby. Oh yeah, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Sing it now. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Just like money to me, babe. How sweet it is to be loved by you.
The shepherd. My name is Benjamin. I am a shepherd. I have been all of my life, or for as long as I can remember. I want to say some things about this Jesus, this Galilean. I remember when I was about 11, during the great census. My brothers and I were watching the flocks in the hills around Bethlehem. It was a special time with many people in the city and many flocks on the hillside. Everywhere there were campfires with much merriment and singing. We decided to leave our cousin tend the flock, and we went to the city to see what was going on. We wandered the streets and marveled at all the sights and sounds. Then, without knowing why or how, we found ourselves in a stable. Several families were staying there, for the inn was full. One of the women had just given birth to a child. She let us see him, and we even held him for a moment. The woman said the baby's name was to be Jesus. I think it may have been the same Jesus as the man of whom we speak now. I was in my 41st year when I began to hear stories of a prophet named Jesus. He talked of love and kindness. He said we should treat others as we wish to be treated. He talked of a new way of life that begins within each one of us. He said there can be a new kind of world when we believe it's possible. Some thought he was talking about our kingdom being restored and that he was to be a warrior Messiah. The next thing we knew, he had been brought before Pilate and tried for insurrection. They crucified him. Personally, I never heard him speak of insurrection, and neither did anyone else I know. Only those who hoped he was to be a warrior Messiah say he talked of forming a new kingdom. The rest of us heard him speak of peace and faith and what it means to express love unconditionally. That's how I will always think of him, as a teacher of love. I consider myself a disciple of his, although I never actually met him, except, of course, for that moment long ago when I held him in a stable.
He called me Peter. That means rock, you know, rock. I was about as rock-like as a fire and as changeable. I tried. Oh, how I tried. Like the time I saw him walk on water, I wanted to try it too, and he encouraged me. I even walked a few steps, but I didn't have enough faith. He always had more faith in me than I had in myself. Oh, so many things I saw him do. He healed my mother-in-law and more others than I can count. And there was that time when he fed the crowd with nothing more than a boy's lunch. I think I remember most how he touched people's hearts and changed them. Matthew was a tax collector and he became a disciple. Mary Magdalene, she was, well, let's just say she had issues. And now you can't find anyone more devoted than she is. Oh, the most spectacular event to me was that time on the mountain. And right now it just seems like a dream, but it was real enough then. As we all prayed, Jesus began to shine with bright rays of light. And then the prophets, Moses and Elijah, appeared next to him. He fully embraced his oneness with the divine and often encouraged us to do the same. I remember how he taught us. He spoke about the kingdom of God within us, and he told us to love. I still don't understand it all. In the end, I guess I didn't learn the lesson of love too well. I let my fear get in the way. He warned me, He told me that I would deny him, but big shot me, I told him I would be with him no matter what. Words are cheap. Before morning, I had told people 3 times that I didn't even know him. Some rock. I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of my life. I don't know. I guess the most practical thing to do is go back to being a fisherman. But I guess it's never too late to learn what he tried to teach me, to turn away from my error thinking and to fully embrace my oneness with the divine.
Staring at a maple leaf, leaning on your mother tree, I said to myself with a lost touch, your favorite fruit is chocolate covered cherries, seedless watermelon. Oh, nothing from the ground is good enough. Your body rides, it looks over me. Oh, cherry, your golden waves are walking down upon this place. Oh, chariot, I'm singing out loud to guide me. Give me your strength. Remember seeing moons rebirth, mirrors, mirrors of the earth. The sun was just the yellow energy. There is a living promised land, even over fields of sand. Seasons still my burden cover me. Bring it back, oh the memory, oh cherry, your golden waves are walking down upon this place. Oh chariot, I'm singing out loud to guide me. Give me your strength. You'll be my vacation away from this place. You know what I want. Holding that cup that's pouring over the side makes me want to spread my arms and fly. Oh, cherry, your golden waves are walking down upon this place. Oh, chariot, I'm singing out loud to guide me. Give me your strength. Chariot, give me your strength. Give me your strength.
The blind man. I remember the day. It was hot and dry, and the road was dusty. I heard the murmuring of the crowd. I recalled the day they spoke of a man named Jesus. I had heard of him, but never was in his presence. I had never seen him, for I was blind. From the day I was born, I was blind. Deep within my heart, I knew that I would someday see. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but something within told me that I would someday see. Little did I know this was the day Little did I know he was the one. I was aware of his presence. It was nothing he said, nor was it anything he did, yet I knew he was near. There was a force at work, a force I can't explain, but I sensed he was drawn to me and I was drawn to him. As he drew near, I felt a warmth. It was like the warmth of a fire, comforting and reassuring. Before he spoke or touched me, I felt like a babe in his mother's arms. His words were soft and gentle. I had no need to ask questions. I only knew I was in good hands. I felt the coolness of clay he patted on my eyelids. It was comforting and soothing. I gave no thought as to what he had in mind. I responded to his words and touch. When he said to me, "Go and wash the clay from your eyes," I did what he said, not knowing why. I felt rightly guided. I had no true sense as to why I was doing it. When I washed the clay, I was speechless. How can I explain what my eyes revealed? There was light and dark. I saw the blue of the sky and the gold of the sun. My hands moved before my face like puppets. I tried to convince myself what I felt and what I saw was part of the same world. Oh, what a thrill! I could see. What glory came to me and what glory came through him. I can't forget him. His light deep in my heart. Over time, I've also come to see that the presence and power I sensed in him that miraculous day is also in me. It's in you. It's in everyone.
Mary Magdalene. Early that morning, I came to the tomb, and the stone at the door had been rolled away. As I crept inside, I saw a figure in white sitting there, but Jesus's body was gone. It was too much. And I started crying and crying. But the one in white said, "Fear not. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified." Then I stumbled out into the garden, still crying, not understanding any of it. Suddenly, there I could feel the Christ's presence asking me, "Woman, why are you weeping? Who is it that you look for?" I thought he was the gardener, so I answered, "Sir, they have taken my Lord away." I knew the love and compassion that I had always felt when in Jesus' presence, that I had recognized when I was healed. He made me feel like no one else had. Do you remember how we were told as children, "I will never leave you nor forsake you"? I felt so frightened without him, wondering if I really have the strength he saw in me, wondering if without his physical presence, I can still know and show and share the love he touched in me. But now I know that his loving presence isn't gone, nor is it far away, just as God is not far away. The Christ presence lives, not only in our memories and our hopes of meeting after death, but today in our lives as we love unconditionally as Jesus did. Now we can see what he meant. Remember, he said, "All this and more you will do," affirming that the divine presence is available to us all. Brothers, sisters, listen to me. I have felt the Christ presence. I will tell you, the Christ presence lives in each of us. The Christ presence lives. Brothers, sisters, rejoice with me. The Christ presence lives in you and me.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Yeah, yeah. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Lost among the trees, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean. Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when the day is done, that's what I mean. In this old world, in this new world, in a bold world for me. And I'm feeling good.
Before we move into our time of meditation, I'd like everyone to just kind of take a second to just absorb all those readings and just really think and about any of them. Did any of them resonate more with you than the others? Did anything that was said kind of just really strike you and just you felt it deeply? So let's just take a minute to really feel into that and just really integrate the readings, because they all have something so important for us to learn and to grow. And now we'll move into meditation. I'll invite everyone to just kind of close their eyes and relax wherever you are, in your chair, in your bed, on the floor. Just really just relax yourself, relax your body. Take some beautiful, deep cleansing breaths, breathing in the light and breathing out the light. Just really allow this sacred time for yourselves, this communal time for us here. Just allow it. And open yourself up. Open up your mind and open up your heart and open up your core to really just be able to feel the presence of the Spirit, to really be, the readings, just allow them to just move through you, and be able to just let you know what it is that you must know in this time. What is it that is guiding you towards healing? You know, the readings tell us about letting go of shame and letting go of guilt and letting go of fear. What do you need to let go of? They tell us about feeling that compassion and that faith, about feeling that idea of abundant life, that we have been brought here to have abundant life, and that the things that Jesus did, we can do too. All the teachings of love and of forgiveness and of justice. How do we embody those in our daily life? What is ours to do? How do we turn away from error thinking to be able to fully, and deeply embrace the divine presence within? How are we to be healed like the blind man? How are we able to feel that presence, connect to that presence where we are healed and we then become the healing presence for others? And we are part of the miracle, part of miracles which are really just law. We take this, all of these teachings as a way to just rejoice, as a way to rejoice and feel joy about our lives, about our possibility, about our oneness, about the Christ presence that lives and breathes and moves in me and you and around us and in us and as us. So we rest right now in a few minutes of silence as we just really allow for this presence to grow and settle within us. The Jesus journey is far from suffering. That was not the message that Jesus wanted us to understand and convey. The message is about reawakening and rebirth and renewal and resurrection. It is all of those things that are there for us. They are there in us. And so we forgive and we release and we feel love and we feel joy and we feel freedom and we feel that hunger in our heart, for that deeper meaning of life, for that deeper meaning with our God, for that deeper connection to each other. And we feel it and we allow it and we breathe it and we grow it. So we leave this evening knowing that we are here to love unconditionally, to forgive profusely, and to live abundantly. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Take a few breaths and open your eyes.
Alleluia. 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 Alleluia.
So this is the time in our experience this morning or this evening that we will be preparing to receive our tithes and our offerings. Our center and our ministries are completely supported through the financial gifts and offerings that you give. And I know it can be tempting in this time of uncertainty to hold tight, but we remember that giving and tithing is a part of sharing our good. It's how we activate the law of giving and receiving, and it raises our own spiritual vibration to be in a consciousness that allows us to receive more fully. So I want you to know that as a spiritual center, Unity on the North Shore is proud to practice the law of giving and receiving. We tithe 10% of all of the unrestricted gifts that we receive back to organizations that support us and organizations that we see doing wonderful work in the community, bringing forth that divine love in ways that help to heal and bless and uplift and uphold. So giving in this time of sequestering is safe and it's simple. There are links and instructions being entered into the chat stream now. You can look there. The three simple ways that we have are: first, you can text to give. The number's on the screen right now. You can also mail a check to our physical postal address, Unity on the North Shore at 3434 Central Street in Evanston. Or you can go to our website and give online through credit cards. PayPal, we've got a number of PayPal pay processors that we use there. That address is, email URL is www.unityns.org. Your generosity empowers us to continue creating inspirational work and inspirational ways for you to connect with us in this time of physical separation. And it helps us to share the principles for abundant living that we know are so important to be able to live through difficult times in challenging ways. Also want to remind you that I know we have some folks joining us from other Unity communities or maybe even other churches. Please remember that all that's true for your home ministries as well. They need your funds and your support and your help to keep their ministries going. So please give generously where you are spiritual fed. So let's now take time to bless our giving and receiving with our usual offertory prayer. Speak it together aloud with me, because we know the power of our voices helps to bring the truth into greater expression. So together, divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Amen. So Pat, if you would, take us home.
Thank you very much. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like the breeze. Country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country road, all my memories gather round her. Minus lady, straight to blue water. Dark and dusty, painted on the sky. Just the taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, I hear a voice in the morning, now she calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. And driving down the road, I get the feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, take me home. Country roads, take me home. Down country roads.
Hey, Pat.
Thank you, everybody.
So what I'd like to do is invite you now to, I'd invite you now to try gallery mode. If you haven't tried that yet, go up in the right-hand corner of that window and click on gallery mode. That way we'll be able to see everybody who's got a camera on. And I would just invite you to applaud, let's clap, show our appreciation for Pat Condra and for each of the presenters from Unity Oak Park and from Unity Chicago and right here from Unity on the North Shore. So grateful for the work, and it took some practice to get our cues right, and we just appreciate the time that each of you took to be present for rehearsals. And also thank you to all who have joined us this evening to be a part of this celebration. We feel your love and your energy, and we know that it helps to create this wonderful Easter season. Quick reminder that we would love for you to join us again Easter Sunday. You can go back to our website, www.unityns.org, and you'll need to register. You'll automatically be sent all the information you need to be able to join us Sunday at 10:30 Central Time. Thank you again for being here. Bless you all, and hope to see you on Sunday. And now, Reverend Christina, if you will lead us in our closing prayer.
I will, but before we leave, I want to remind everyone that this Sunday is Easter Sunday, and please feel free to don your Easter hat because we will be having a virtual Easter parade. So don't forget, everyone. All right, let's close in our usual way with the prayer of protection. And say it out loud, even if you're in your kitchen. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am this. Amen. Blessings to everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.